Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames, and I'm here today to talk to you about a game that is probably flying under your radar, and what I think you should change about that. I'm talking about Ys VIII, Lacrimosa of Dana, or however you pronounce it. I'm still not 100% sure on all that, but here's the thing. The Ys series is an action RPG series that's been around for like 30 years. It started way back in '87 on Japanese home computers, and really the only versions that came out here for the early on was the TurboGrafx CD version of Ys 1 and 2 and Ys 3 for Genesis, Super NES, and we really didn't see a whole lot of Ys games for a long time. We got the 6th game way later on the PS2, Arc of the Nephishtim or whatever, published by Konami. But I mean, yeah, this has been a long-running series that's actually pretty darn good. Now, this version of Ys is different from the older versions, because the older versions, generally speaking, had a top-down perspective, and this is third-person all the way. So you don't really need to worry about anything, though, because even though it's called Ys VIII, this is a very standalone story. This is a very easy to jump into point of the game, because the story is, I mean, really nothing really matters as far as the early games are concerned. Because here's the thing, I haven't played any of the earlier Ys games, and I have no problem jumping into this game and playing it or following the story at all. Like, everything makes total sense. So the story of this game is basically you're just on a cruise ship, and it gets attacked by a giant kraken, and everyone gets shipwrecked, and you wake up on a deserted island, the island of Sirens, and it's cursed. So the whole thing was leading up to the story is that you were passing by an island that was cursed, that people always crashed and never returned from, and then you get attacked by a giant kraken and end up on the fucking island. So that's all you really need to know going forward, and that's actually one of the things I actually like about the game right now, in everything I've played, is it doesn't take itself overly pretentious and serious. It's very much a really cool, just survival sort of story. And then there's like a mystery to the island, and you unravel it as you play through the game, and you see like something like the whole fleshed out backstory of it. And that's actually kind of cool and all that jazz. But yeah, it's actually very nice to not have a game that's about teenagers fighting God, you know, in some existential nightmare crisis. But whatever, fuck all that. The story's really cool. It's very simple. I like that. It is anime trope land, so if you just can't stand the idea of characters falling into very, very defined archetypes, then whatever. Because the thing is, I don't really find that a problem, because this game has such fun gameplay. So let me just talk right into that. So the gameplay of Ys games has always been an action RPG. It started out really weird, where you would just bump into enemies rather than actually attack them like Zelda 1. But that's all long gone now. Now we have a third-person game with a very, very, very fast-paced battle system. And here's the thing that should sell you on Ys VIII right now. It has parries and witch time mechanics. That's right. It has a dodge, and that if you time it just before getting attacked, you get a little slow-mo gameplay boost, and if you parry, you also get a boost of speed and attack power. So this game right there should just tell you all you need to know. It's an action RPG that has witch time and parries. Boom! You should play it and buy it just from that alone. But it works though regardless, because you get all of you know, you have your basic attacks, you have your jumping attacks, and yes, you can jump. But you also get your special abilities, which kind of fill up in a meter system very, very similar to a fighting game, where the more you just do normal attacks, the more you build up your meter. So you don't have to like sit there and like, do I have enough SP? Do I have to, if I drain my SP, do I have to take an SP potion? And actually don't worry about that, because it's the special moves or your mana or your magic, as it were. It all builds up meter based like a fighting game. Another really cool thing is that this game, unlike some of the earlier games, is party based in a way, where you have real-time two characters with you at all times. And what's cool about that is you can switch between them at the press of a button. And the thing is, it's got a little bit of a Fire Emblem mechanic, where certain characters are better for breaking, like attacks, some are better for shield breaking, some are better for aerial. And all you gotta do is switch to another character whose specialty is taking down aerial enemies or shielded enemies, and that's all you really gotta worry about, and that's really cool. Another thing that was really cool that I discovered a little farther into the game is that you can completely customize the button layout, which is such a fucking godsend. Something you definitely don't see as much as you really should on Japanese RPGs and Japanese action games. And yeah, it's totally customizable here, and that's just fucking awesome in and of itself. The defaults are a little odd, but you know, I got used to it, and then I found out you could switch your controls up, and then I switched it to what I really wanted to do as far as that goes. And yeah, like the battle system, like yeah, there is a leveling system to it as well, and there's all kinds of things as well. There's crafting, and there's mixing, and you know, synthesizing, all that shit. But it's very simple, and it doesn't get in the way. That's the kind of the nice thing about it, is that as you're running through the game and just whacking down trees and animals and all this stuff, you're collecting items from all of that, and all of that can be used to forge better weapons and armor, mix items, all that shit. You don't even really have to worry about that too much. You can actually find like healing items just randomly running around. You'll find like fruits and you know, vegetables really, or what have you, walnuts and all these other things just on trees and bushes, and you can use that to heal yourself for pretty good amounts of health. So you just foraging around naturally will find you stuff, and you don't even really have to work at it hard at all. It helps that the game is super fast paced. You run and dodge at very quick clips. You know, you can, I think it's 60 frames per second all the way through, at least on PS4, definitely on PC. So it's very fast and smooth. The timing's very quick though, so you won't get that sort of Bayonetta thing where it like freezes and zooms in real quick when you do parry or do dodge perfectly. Like it just kind of mostly happens very fast paced, so you might need to like up your game a little bit to just adjust that, but it's not really a big deal at all. Just a little bit of focusing, and you can mollywop bosses. Again though, there is a battle or a leveling system, so yeah, you can't, if you are level 10 and you try to fight a level 50 thing, you will die. Even if you do end up parrying it, just one good hit will probably end you if you're too mismatched. So, you know, you got that going for you. And you can lose health pretty fast if you're not good at dodging or parrying, so that's all cool there. As far as how the graphics go, this is an interesting subject because this is pretty much a Vita game. And there's a PS4 and PC version, and the base of the game as far as like polygons and sort of design go, it is basically made to work on a Vita first and foremost, but it looks really good. Now it's up-resed as fuck, so yes, I mean, I'm not saying it like it looks like a Vita game as far as aliasing and resolution go. No, it's obviously been up-res 1080p, all that jazz, and the art is just really, really good in the game, and they make really good, smart use of it. It's a very pretty game. I actually think it's very commendable what they were able to accomplish, and obviously it looks a lot worse on Vita than it does on PS4 and PC. But I mean, it's a nice looking game, and like you got character designs that are really well done. They look way better than Xenoblade 2's, and yeah, I have to say it because it's fucking true. But yeah, it looks really good, and it makes really good use of it. Now there's some weird little hang-ups where there's a lot of invisible walls, and it's zoned off a lot, so because again it's a Vita game, but the loading time is like instantaneous, especially on PS4, so you really don't have to worry too much about that. It's just, you'll see tiny little things they did and obviously make sure it runs well on Vita first and foremost, because that was probably the base system that was made for. But yeah, the art style is really great. Like the character designs are fantastic. There's this sort of duality between the main character Adol and sort of this chick Donna, and you know, it's funny because she's sort of like, I guess you could say, a sage or a maid or whatever you want to call it, and all of the people from her culture are all like half naked, except for a few people who wear traditional robes, and then everyone else is wearing these really silly anime bikini and Speedo armor. And you know, luckily the guys are just almost as half naked as the chicks are too, but it is a little funny to see, especially because the rest of the cast, for you, the main character, and the castaways, you're all dressed appropriately, but not this sort of like whatever this ancient culture is in the game. Like they like to dress in basically scraps of fabric. So you got that going there, and the last thing I kind of want to talk about is the music, which has always been a highlight for the series. It's kind of got like this sort of rock ballad vibe going to it. Now there are like soft and more orchestral sounding pieces as well, so you kind of get both. But Ys has always kind of thrived on having its like rock heavy soundtrack, which is a staple of Falcom, the developers' games. Like all of their titles have always had this sort of in studio rock band that helps make the soundtracks to these games, and this one's no exception. But it sounds really good. It's an odd mix that sort of works really well. I really do dig the soundtrack. I think it's something I would listen to outside of the game, and yeah, I think most people probably will enjoy it for the most part. But yeah, all in all, this is a fantastic game to cap off your summer. A fantastic game to go back to school to jump into. I mean, and for me, it's a fantastic fucking game to bide my time until Xenoblade 2 comes out. And it's kind of sad that it's such a low-key franchise, because it's really quality. Like, obviously, it doesn't have a huge budget. It doesn't have huge amounts of money poured into it, but it's got a lot of just smart, fast decision. When I say fast, I mean like fast gameplay. Smart, fast gameplay that's done to make the game just super accessible. Jump in, have a good time, and I've been enjoying the hell out of this game since I started playing it. And I really do think that if you enjoy Platinum games, it's not of the quality of Platinum games, don't get me wrong, it's not of that level, but if you enjoy Platinum game stuff, if you enjoy Nier, if you enjoy sort of classic 80s, 90s anime aesthetics, this is a perfect title for you, and I think you really should give this game a look. I think this is a game worth purchasing from the 10, 12 hours that I've already sunk into it, and I think you guys are going to regret it if you sleep out on this. So go check out this game. It's totally worth your time. It's totally worth your money, and I think you'll have a great time playing it. So that's all I got to say on this subject, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Later, dudes.